Hello and welcome back to Lorehammer. I'm your host, Mark, and joining me today we got Gerald. Hey.
Well, hello, Mark.
Hello there, a prolific podcaster yourself there. What's going on?
I won't say prolific, but it's been going pretty good. So
I think you can say prolific when you're podcasting as long as you have one. I think that's all it takes, really. But that's just my opinion. You know, they're a dime a dozen these fucking things. In this episode, I'm going to tell you how I make mine. It's going to be kind of fun. It's the behind the scenes bonus episode. Yeah, what does it take to make a show like this? We just had our 200th episode, which is pretty rowdy. I heard one time that to be considered like a successful podcast, whatever that means, you know, find that in a couple different ways. But to be a successful podcast, they don't consider you that unless you have at least 100 episodes under your belt. Yeah. Fun fact for you.
we were just under halfway there then.
There you go. Okay. But before we get into this topic, let's do some quick housekeeping. Join the Patreon, the good old Imperial tie. Do you want to do your duty? Support the show. You can go to patreon.com, Lorehammer. You can search us. It'll come up. It's not that hard. There's links in the description below. And you can get the ad-free version for $2.50 or the video version. Come join the chat room. Alpha Primus is in there. Probably some others as well. And you can get that for $5.
Yes, looks like Alpha Primus is kind of chomping at the bit for that number one, that first commenter. So congratulations. You were on the first three comments.
I know a lot of shows, like podcasts, have super chats where people super chat in the first for money. Mm-hmm. You know, it's also embarrassing when no one does. So it's like, do I want to put my heart out there and no one's super chatting? No, I'm delicate. I can't risk it. I'm not going to risk it.
If you build it, they will come.
Okay.
If you build it, they will come.
I'm inspired now. I love that. Cool.
I think it was your words that inspired me. So, but join the Patreon. You can access all this wonderful stuff and the live chat room. Call in. Oh yeah, we also do call in guests. If you want to be a call in guest, just be an Imperial Tithe person, and then Mark will give you the link when it's time.
Yeah. We might even drop that now. And if anyone really feels like they can contribute, maybe you pop in, but maybe not. Whatever. We'll definitely have some call-ins when we're through kind of the notes and whatever we kind of have structured here, which we can kind of get into. Yeah, there is a lot that goes into Lorehammer. Even just looking at this production sheet, I'm like, this is a lot of work. There's a lot of different aspects of it, from doing scheduling to writing to editing to all that kind of wild stuff that we're going to get into. But it all kind of stems from the very first step of it all, the idea, that inspiration. The idea of Lorehammer was me just trapping people in a room and chatting 40K with them. You don't have a choice. For 3 hours, you're going to listen to me. People could get up and leave. There was no violent incidents, but no one ever did. So quite happy about that. So with every episode, I kind of start with the idea. And I would break my ideas down into maybe 5 different categories. I wanted to do the beginner's guide to 40K, which is like, the first couple episodes. I don't even know how many. I wanted to tell what's the basic everyone needs to know. So we've gone through a lot of that, and it took a long time. I feel like even around episode 75, we were still like, here's some basic information you need before you can play. Like, there's so much. But I would also kind of have grand story arcs throughout this. So I would go cycling through different races where it's like you want to make sure your content is evenly balanced, where you're not just talking about Space Marines, where you're touching on all the Xenos. Now you're touching on something from the universe. So I'd kind of run this overall grand story arc where I'd tell one episode for each thing and kind of just break down, okay, what is the first thing you need to know about this race? Boom. And then go into the grand story arc of it all. Boom, 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 boom. Then I'd go into like little mini series every now and again. Like a great example of a mini series was like that Dad Hammer, and it could be random stuff. Very fun. I really want to do more. I'm gonna get some more time in the near future, and I'm excited what that means. Because mini series are super fun. They're kind of just like, what do you want to do? You want to do an RPG. Okay, let's fucking get after it. But and then we kind of have the bread and butter, which is the main episodes. They're quick, easy, numbered. I always tried to keep my episodes numbered and labeled pretty consistent. Like, what's the idea here? Try to make sure when you click it, you're not getting information that you're not there for. Like, try to make it pretty obvious what you're getting into. And then I would have bonus episodes, and these are really just whatever. Like, this is a good bonus episode, but also we've done the Chaos Unbound episodes that people have really been enjoying. A couple other ones, where this is bonus episode 44, and this is kind of just a catch-all. So when I'm writing, I kind of start like, okay, which one of these are we at? Where are we doing? What are we up to now? Just this good catch-all guideline.
All right. So kind of follow up to that. Is there any kind of process like, when you choose which factions you're going to cover? Is this like, okay, next I want to cover this faction, or is it just kind of happen at random, or is there a particular, what shall I say? Is there a particular sequence that you're kind of going for, if that makes any sense?
Yeah. So like my sequence, I guess, would be two Imperial, then 2 Chaos, and then you do one of each Xenos, and then I do a world building type one. And a world building could be, those flora and fauna episodes with great world building, or maybe you learn about, hive cities, or, those are great world building ones. Doing the Primarch episodes, it's been a little more obvious what series is up next. That's a very straight Legion number order. Before, it was kind of just like, I always kind of looked at like, okay, what do people need to know first? Before I can talk to them about this super niche detail, I need to do 14 episodes. Even now, I feel like I'm still doing context, like 30 minutes of context in the front of some episodes. I'm like, yeah, I hope that's enough.
That's the thing with this stuff, is just like you need context for the context for the context.
Yeah.
So, but
like, okay,
I can.
So you have this super soldier, 8-foot tall person with a chainsaw running around doing what? Well, let me tell you why. It's because he's a religious fanatic. Like, let me give you some context here. This setup.
Yeah. Yeah. I can speak from a Grimlore perspective. Whoops. There we go. trying to fix my mic. I can speak from a Grimlore perspective. As far as the fantasy content, I let Ray decide that stuff. So I'm pretty sure he has like a particular pattern, but usually what we've kind of done so far with our episodes is like, we'll basically give like a general overview of like a particular faction or a character that led to the creation of this faction. Like our second episode is like a general, what is Warhammer Fantasy? Okay, we're going to talk about the old ones and the Lizardmen, because they were like the first part.
Yeah.
And then we're going to talk about the elves, and then we're going to talk about the dwarves, and then we're going to talk about the elves that broke away and became the dark elves, aka the fantasy Drukhari and all that stuff. So I think that was kind of like that process. But then we kind of, I won't say broke form, because we had discussed this like when starting, but because we're both fans of Destiny and Halo, we figured what would be really fun to do is every 7th episode we'll do a double feature where Ray talks about Destiny and I talk about Halo. Yeah, so that's why literally every 7 episodes you see in our roster is a Bungie double feature.
Nice. Yeah. You can definitely look for like little stuff like that. It helps just with kind of the idea generation. I find if you do have a little bit of structure like that, where it's like, okay, I can expect this to come up, or yeah. Oh, I had it and then it was gone. That's the worst, but that's what happens sometimes. Writing episodes, I've had kind of a different way of doing it over the years, and we'll get into some of this, which is pretty fun, pretty interesting. Some develops with technology even. Whoa. But it all starts with, I feel like when I do an episode, the first thing I write is the episode title. It's that idea, that I said, like, the episode today is behind the scenes. And then from there, you just slowly build off of it. In this episode, I didn't have to do any research, but normally I have to do a bunch of research. To know anything about all this, man, you just got to keep reading. You got to read. That's all. And thankfully, I love it. And I've been doing it for like so long, man. I remember sitting in church and just reading Lexicanum, page after page after page. Jesus, who? I worship the emperor, motherfucker. Yeah, probably heretical to say that, but whatever, man. I just read a lot, and I feel like that's been my super strength, regardless of how I can read out loud. I just fucking keep reading. So going into stuff that really helps when I'm doing like the writing, because I already kind of have read. I can copy a lot of sentence construction. I can use a lot of the same phrases that are already used in 40K. Like, because I'm not writing my own novel. Like, this is not some fucking academic podcast. So a little bit of copyright here and there, not a big deal. It's almost called sourcing even, which is kind of nice without sourcing it. Mm-hmm. So prior knowledge is really good. The way I kind of start doing my research, though, is I start with Lexicanum. I feel like that's a great spot to just get a good overview. Then I jump over to the Wikia, the fandom, the 40K Wikia fandom. This one, it's good to read. It's harder to use everything in there. I don't put as much stock into it. You don't get as good as sourcing in it. And I feel like it's not worded as well, too. But it's still good to read. And I will always read those 2 pages, before I write any episode, just as a nice little refresher. And then I will go into like my actual sourcing, which is like the main sourcing, where I'll start pulling up my codexes. I used to have a huge library where now I just do it all digitally. Like, we're doing an episode on Space Wolves. Let's pull up some Space Wolf codexes. Boom. Read through them real quick. No big deal. Like, you don't have to read the whole thing. I've read a lot of them anyways. Many times. Novels are also great, although I honestly rarely source from novels. If I want to find a quote, those are fun to try to find one in a novel and stuff, but I would rather almost read like what is it called? Like a summary of a book online, maybe.
Like a Cliff's Notes version, you mean?
That would be it. Cliff's Notes is exactly what I'm talking. Do that for a lot of codexes. If you're reading, like, read a couple different Cliff Notes. The novels, man, they're good, but I feel like also, man, they get carried away sometimes, or they're not as hard canon sometimes, or just, yeah, there's a difference there.
I have a question regarding that stuff. I'll let you kind of finish the sourcing list.
Yeah. White Dwarfs, I used to have a huge stack. I used to have subscribed for many years. So, sourcing little White Dwarf articles or like little whatever. Pull up some of those. Then the Games Workshop community page, you can always do a quick little search on there. I usually will. I don't really get too much from that, although sometimes you get a little tidbit of like, you get a little tidbit of like a teaser. Like, normally those Games Workshop community pages are written to like suck you in and then make you want to buy the codex. So you might be like, oh, those 3 things are really cool. I should go try to hunt those 3 things down further. Or these are the 3 key things to know about this topic. So I find that's good to kind of like, okay, so I've kind of done some pre-research. Now let's see what these guys say I should kind of go read. And then I maybe will go do that.
That's how they get you.
Yeah, no, and that's exactly it, except I can't be got. I buy third-party minis from Russia, and I download stuff illegally. It's fun that way. After many years of being a veteran, never mind, I don't need to get angry and go on a rant. And then finally, some third-party stuff. I don't always look for third-party stuff, but man, how many times you heard me talk about Fantasy Flight games? They're fantastic. So anytime I know that, like, if I was doing a Death Watch episode, you better believe I'm pulling up their stuff for sourcing. There's video games like Space Marine 2, Space Marine. They can be fun. They're not always canon. Dawn of War games are really fun. I'd love to do a Blood Ravens episode. 40K animations also can be some little sourcing. Like, if you want to figure out a little bit of how certain things move, or like how does a bolter shell work if a missile doesn't have shells? Oh, okay, it's a dual shell bolter. Okay, let's see that operate. Like, it can be fun. but it's so far down the list. I think primarily most of my sourcing comes from codexes. Like I said, I'll read the Lexicanum, I'll read the fandom, and then I'll dive right into the codexes and read a couple editions worth of codexes for the topic.
Okay, that's going to kind of lead into my, since we're talking about like what's canon, what's not. Even though yes, GW does have the tagline "everything is canon," but what a lot of people tend to forget is, but not everything is true.
Yeah, I love that line and I hate that line. I love saying it to people, but I hate when people say it to me. You know, it's like, fuck, son of a bitch, you got me.
Yeah, and I
Yeah,
actually had a discussion. I had a discussion with one of the GW managers because I was because I think like I can't remember if this was around the time, but someone had made that statement on the Discord, and then that just led to like a massive argument because of what exactly is canon, what is the lore breaking, and then he was very clever because I was bringing up that argument of like, well, what if they're using that statement to bring up stuff like that's just not canon to what according to what GW says, and he just goes, well, the other half of the statement is not everything is true, so.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
So
kind of his way of just like I don't want to provoke the argument one way or the other, so I'm just gonna here's the actual full statement.
yeah, yeah, and it's good. I was listening to a wild podcast just about eyesight and how that works, and how your eyes are vibrating back and forth to get rid of the black little hole otherwise that you would see, and how also like your peripherals don't absorb the same information, just a whole bunch of crazy stuff. And novels are typically first person or third person, and they're just not reliable witnesses, where I feel like codexes are once again not necessarily reliable. But yeah, it just is a little more solid and a little more vague too, which I like, where the novels can be too specific, where it's like, ooh, okay, you've said this now. What are the implications of that now that you've said that, as opposed to kind of this vague setting?
So that's actually leads into what I was going to ask you. If you can put this in Star Wars terms, there were actually like levels of canonicity to like that in the expanded universe before Disney came in and did what Disney does. But so is there like a level of like whatever is said or done here, this is canon. Anything below that, maybe kind of sort of, but then anything below that is just like, no, we don't take that as canon.
Yeah, okay. So what would the ranking be? So first of all, core rule books for each edition. So there's going to be 10 of those things out there. Those are all going to be hard canon. Like keep the newest one up to date, and maybe you go back 3 editions and can consider most of that up to date. We're not talking about the first one, although at one point that was the best canon. So I would put that always number one. Then I would go to codexes, and then I would go to novels, and then go to like White Dwarves, where White Dwarves are at the bottom of the pile, where you find a lot of wacky stuff in there. Or like we used to get like crazy stuff where battle reports that crazy shit would happen, and then they'd write lore events based on that crazy stuff. So the White Dwarfs, it's true, but it's skeptical for sure.
So as a person that's only been in the hobby just a few years, so never really had that White Dwarf experience, is that kind of like the Gamers Game Informer magazine type of thing to get you hyped up for like the next for the next console, the next game coming out?
Yeah, White Dwarf has had a number of different formats where, sometimes they did weekly, then they did monthly, sometimes they did quarterly. Like sometimes the quarterly ones were big old fucking thick volumes of 100 pages, and the weekly ones were only 10. And they've changed. I don't know what they're currently doing, but yeah, it was battle reports. It was a mini catalog of new bits. It's what's coming out next month. It's all that kind of.
Okay.
Here's an interview with somebody talking about model design. Here's some rules that you can now play with.
Okay, interesting. So it's kind of like what's the new thing that they're doing now is the Combat Patrol. It's a subscription service that they're doing in the UK and now here in the US, where like if you subscribe for so many months, like each month or two, you'll get like a magazine with like a mini or like a squad of minis and some other stuff. And like over time, like if you follow through the entire subscription, you have basically the combat patrol set for like the major factions that they're advertising for. So
Yeah, that's pretty cool. That sounds slightly different.
okay.
Like that sounds very specific. Where
Okay.
yeah, like the beauty of White Dwarf was you had a bunch of different stuff crammed into one thing, and you didn't always have everything in there either. But it was like this. Yeah, it was just random. Could be everything in there.
Okay.
So yeah,
All right,
pretty
cool.
cool. If you can
We do have a
find,
question.
yeah.
Yeah, we do have a question from the chat. Mr. Dominifi, if I'm saying that right, where does the Warhammer Plus content come in on that list?
I would put it under novels as well, where it's like you're now talking like first person's perspective, which is just not reliable. Like you just the eyes are not actually seeing what's happening. They're they are telling your brain what it thinks it's seeing. So you might not actually be seeing what you're seeing. Which is a runaround way of saying I'm not a fucking scientist. Go listen to that podcast. It was pretty neat. But yeah, the novels and animations, I think that's that first person where it's like just kind of that one step down.
Okay. So even though Warhammer Plus is sanctioned by GW, you'd still kind of put it at that.
And it's
level?
not, yeah, and it's not that I'm saying it's not canon. It just like if I had a main rule book or a codex that said one thing, and then I seen an animation that said another, I would take the other two over
that makes
I seen
sense
on the animation. Yeah, but
okay.
yeah, and the beautiful part about 40K is honestly you can kind of just focus or build whatever canon you want. Honestly, like there are some hard and fast rules, but it's pretty open. You can get away with a lot.
It just seems like the big arguments come from like when someone's deliberately trying to break the rule, or
Yeah,
not even in like a jokey or a memey way, or it's just like
yeah,
that's at least in my experience, that's what I've noticed.
yeah.
Yes, I like this unreliable narrator.
Yeah, perfect. I love when people have terms and you're like, I know that term. I just didn't know what it was called in the moment. But yeah, no, that's exactly it. So same thing would go then for Warhammer Plus. You guys are talking about female custodies. That's fun. Yeah, and then the other thing I would consider when talking canon is age. And I know I kind of said whatever like the newest codexes is kind of whatever is considered canon, but this is just me. If I picked up something between like 5th and 7th edition, that's going to be the canon for me. It's going to overwrite all every other edition, even if something says counter. Like it just, I don't know, man. Creativity is dead, but that's an argument for another day, or a conversation for another day. Yeah.
Oh man.
The sourcing. I used to have a Lorehammer library, man. I used to have hundreds of books, and White Dwarf stuff and novels and all that kind of stuff. So it was super sweet. Me and Eric used to just grab directly from the source and read. Now I just download it. I also do secondary sources like my preferred is Reddit. Honestly, I love Reddit for Warhammer lore. You don't put any stock in anything that say, but it's fun to read.
As much as I don't like using Reddit, they're great for finding excerpts, like especially if I'm trying to find an excerpt to read off in a Lorehammer episode. So,
oof. Yeah, exactly. So they're great for that. So I'll usually check that to do a quick Reddit search for sourcing. So that's kind of what I do. Like a lot of it is super nice because since I've been doing it for so long, I'm like, well, I have already read the Space Wolf Codex 17 times. I don't need to read it no more. Like eventually you just start to like over source essentially.
Yep. I don't have much to add from the Grimlore perspective on all this stuff because this is pretty much the same no matter what podcast you are, no matter what kind of content you're trying to create. Like this is all this research and stuff is pretty standard. Yeah.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, I always think, thank God this isn't important. Whereas if like I mess something up or get information wrong, like no one's gonna die. Doesn't really matter.
Yeah. We're not administratum wage slaves, so
No. I do this for fun, and I definitely try to always be lore accurate. But also, I definitely have my own version of 40k that I try to force on the public. So yeah. So when I get into writing, after all the sourcing's done, I start to build my outline. And usually when I'm doing my sourcing, I'll build the outline while I'm doing that. Kind of just makes sense. Like, okay, so I'm doing an episode on cold trade. Let's pull up some dark fantasy flight game stuff, because that's going to be some good sourcing. Let's pull up a rogue trader thing. Like, you can just kind of start pulling up these sources and give them a quick read. And then build your outline. Like, that's super important to have your outline. You can start just tossing random ideas too. Like, I'll have my outline, and at the bottom I'll have like an idea slot where I'll start tossing, like, I'm not sure where this is going yet, but let's toss it down there. It will find a home. And then after I have an outline, I feel like I've trimmed it down, I start filling it in. There are kind of two ways that I've filled in outlines over the years. There are the first 100 episodes of Lorehammer where I had Eric, and it was fucking tight because we did the same thing essentially. And then when it came to the writing, I basically would say, hey, Eric, I'm trying to say this. Can you make the Space Marines went over the hill sound a little cooler? And then he would type down, the Space Marines marched epically up the hill and triumphantly. He would add a little flair to it. So I would basically narrate the story that I'm trying to tell to him, and he would give a little flair. And of course, he would also have his input to it, like, hey, well, maybe we take the story in this direction. He was a crucial part of writing, and just like, what do we do? Or like, how do we tell this? Or like, is this little information, do we reveal it now or later? Just little things like that. It's so helpful just kind of having somebody who's read even more than I have and read actual books and not just 40k shit. Because I just read 40k shit. So, when people actually know how to read, and like, they know when plot hooks are going to be coming, or no, they can kind of just help a lot when it comes to that. So the first 100 episodes were kind of just like that. Just me and Eric would sit down for 8 hours, and we would kind of just start talking through the notes. I've kind of found, like, for every 3 hours of typing, you can kind of produce 1 hour of content, which
it's done wrong.
Yeah, takes a minute, man. Takes a minute to do. But it's fun, man. You're essentially just reading and writing stuff. And like I said, since this isn't like academic, or since this isn't, you can copy and paste stuff if you want. Like, there's so many times I'm like, well, that's just worded perfectly. Why change the perfect wording that I found in the codex? So you take that, But other times you're like, well, let's So, the Lorehammer you. That's so funny.
Cool.
The next 100. Oh, sorry. Let's read this comment actually before we jump to the next 100. That's why I have to watch and listen to each episode 3 times, because Lorehammer is my prime source, since you have all that professional cross knowledge. Yeah. I used to listen to a ton of podcasts for 40k, but when I started Lorehammer, I never listened to 40k content again. And that goes for YouTube channels. That goes for all of it. And it's not like a fuck you, I'm doing it. It's like, I want everything to just be my idea, I found, like, if I start listening to too many other things, I'm just kind of repeating. And not that there's anything wrong with that, because people have awesome ideas, but I'm like, I not my style. Like, yeah.
I mean, and there's only so many ways we can talk about Perturabo and how petulant and bitter he is before that just gets parroted out between you, Adeptus Ridiculous, Major Kill, Amber King, Lutzen.
Yeah, like, there's not that many.
All the other lore tubers.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's just kind of, for me, I found, like, if I was just a guest, like in your position, Gerald, I wouldn't give up 40k content. But since being one of the main hosts and having to kind of, I found, it was useful for me, at least. So the next 100 episodes, man, I was nervous without Eric, honestly. Like I said, like, he's good at writing. we did 100 episodes together, and I can write. I can do some writing. I can handle my own. But thankfully, AI has really helped. I'm gonna say a couple things about AI. Don't
Plug your
trust.
ears for all those who have issues with abominable intelligence.
Yeah, first, don't trust it. Do not trust it. Like, if I was to go to AI and be like, "Hey, I'm writing an episode on Blood Angels. Can you tell me about them?" That's all. You're gonna find so many errors in it. Like that is not how you do it at all. When I use AI, I will basically get it to do a couple things. I will pretty much treat it like I treated Eric, but a better, well-behaved version. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I love him. But no, basically,
no crude hands.
no, crude. No, basically, I'll just write in my sloppy version of a sentence. I'll try to make it sound right. I'll write in my story, and then I'll be like, okay, can you just spruce this up? And the nice thing about AI is you can basically be like, okay, I want you to spruce it up in this specific way. So I'll be like, if I'm writing about Ravengard, I'm going to be like, write in a like a secretive, write in a, I'll come up with 3. It's hard to do on the spot, but you come up with 3 and then you say, okay, I have my decently constructed sentence here that I wrote. Just spice it up with these couple flair words, and then it kind of does. And then you got to go back again and double check that didn't change anything. Because once again, if you trust the AI to do much more, you're not going to get good information. And also, it's just like yeah, it just is. It's just not reliable in that way. And you get weird sentence like format, and like I've tried it on some, and like yeah, you got to be very specific. And I find literally the best way is just you tell it to kind of just be your final editor. Hey, make sure my sentences flow correctly. If there is a good way to add an adjective here or there, do it. Boom, bang, done.
It sure does like to use the word unrelenting or relentless a lot, I've noticed.
Yeah,
And
I
someone
read
else
that
actually pointed out in the Discord.
Yeah, so you do get stuff like that, where yeah, that might be one of those keywords where it's like I'm writing about world eaters, put in unrelenting, like, or like ferocious, write it in that vibe, and it might put it down too many times. And I try to catch that, like, you, yeah. And sometimes I'll generate something like that really just is not what we're looking for at all, and you just throw it aside. But
I mean, the first few episodes that since you've had me on, I would see that a few times. I wouldn't think anything of it when we're talking about like the Iron Warriors of Percherapo. I'm like, okay, that makes sense. That's that's their shtick. They are unrelenting siege, but then it's just like unrelenting. I'm like, okay, I'm starting to see. I'm noticing a pattern here. That's definitely the AI talking.
Yeah. We got some comments for sure. Alpha Primus, I don't like the AI created content that is on the rise. Yeah, so I battle with this too, and I think like AI is like we don't want to use it. Like if I was doing something serious, once again, I do this as like for fun. I would not be using AI. I don't use it in my personal life. I wouldn't send somebody an email with AI. Like all that's nonsense. Now, for me, I'm like, okay, so none of this is my creation in the first place. Like, I didn't write anything for 40K. So, I'm not source material in the first place. So, what's the difference between Jervis Johnson and, an AI telling me something? I'm like, fuck, man, they're telling me the exact same thing. Like, you don't want to get used to it, but also, man, like, what do you do?
I think it's like if you just stick to using it as like a tool
yeah,
to help and supplement. Sorry, my camera's shaking. If you use it as like a tool to help and supplement your work that you're already doing, I feel like that should be fine. But then when you're using it as a crutch, that's where it becomes a problem.
Yeah, like I know so many people who can't write emails. Wow, okay, that's an exaggeration. I'm sure they can, but that they use Chat GPT now and they think that I don't know. And I'm like, no one talks like this in a day to day or like even an email or like if I have to Google a word that you've used, chances are good you didn't write that. Like I have a pretty big vocabulary. Whether I can say the word or not, that's questionable. But I bet you I know what that word is.
Hmm.
Yeah, so it's one of those things. Lorehammer, I could do it without it. It would be a lot less visually descriptive. And I've even kind of mentioned before, kind of going back and dumbing down my notes a little bit. And by that, it would almost be more like me just writing it and seeing how that goes and doing almost more bullet point style. But
Mm-hmm.
not every
Yeah.
episode can handle that. I don't know. Love it or hate
Yeah.
it. AI is going to kill us all in a couple years. Might as well enjoy it till it does, I guess.
Yep.
I do.
And
Yeah.
yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
I do worry. Final thought on AI before we move on is like ultimately, the technology now exists where you can make an AI podcast of me and you and Eric and Joe Rogan talking about 40K. And like, I wonder and what do I do at that point? So it's like, what do you do? What do you do, man? I love talking 40K. And I'm going to try to stick in it as long as I possibly can. And if that means dabbling it a little
Mm-hmm.
bit in that AI, I guess I have to. So,
Mm-hmm.
now the perfect thing of AI, where I basically just like, AI, write this, is my episode descriptions, where I'm like, AI, I'm writing an episode on blah, 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 write it. And I don't even fucking double check it because it's like, okay, that's so fucking irrelevant. Has anyone ever read an episode description? Like, who cares?
Yeah. Yeah. And as far as Grimlore is concerned, this is where I made the joke when like I'm literally looking at like the notes for this episode, and Mark, and I can tell you listeners, Mark has everything outlined out so nice and neat. Grimlore's notes are not like that. Like we do bullet points, but it's just like, here's the subject of our episode. Okay, what's the first thing? Here's the history. Okay, here's some major characters. Here's some major things that happen. What are they known for here? Blah 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 blah. And then it's like maybe 1 or 2 pages worth of bullet points. Yeah, look at this. This is beautiful. Let me see if I can pull up. Let me pull up one of my notes that I've done, because like going by this outline, like for the Lorehammer stuff, this is like 20, an average episode's like what, 20, 25 pages.
Yeah.
And then, but with Grimlore, it's like, sorry, I got a message that someone's at my front door. As long as I don't ring the doorbell, I'm okay.
If you need to get it, you can answer it. And
I'm not expecting anybody, so I think
Nicky Nandoors.
If they don't ring the doorbell, I'm okay. But anyways, what was I saying?
Yeah, you're pulling up Grimlore stuff.
Yeah, pulling up Grimlore notes. Yeah, ours is like maybe 2 pages long, but it's full of like a bunch of different bullet points, and then we're able to turn that into like 2.5 hours.
Yeah.
So okay, here we go.
Well, like Lorehammer was very similar in the beginning episodes, like to the bullet point format, where when you're talking broad categories, it's very easy to do that bullet point format where you have to just hit broad stuff. You don't have to go hyper detail. But once you go that hyper detail, man, it's just you have to write more and more.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like when I kind of am done with my AI assistant, it's maybe added 3 pages. So like maybe I'll write around like 18 to 20, and then I'll add around 3 pages essentially. So it definitely does help and change words, and it definitely does things for sure.
Like, yeah, it's like this is an example of the notes I've done. Very, nice. Very just like kind of off the cuff, just like bullet point, and then I just basically, ad lib my way through it. So yeah, I do like quotes.
Yeah, no, nice. But yeah, finishing after all that, you got to still finish it. Like I'll read the notes, like I'll read my own notes 2 or 3 times, before the actual episode. You write it. I'll write it. I'll read through it, kind of do my edit. Then I'll let, the AI give it once over. Then I'll kind of do an AI edit, because not everything you want from AI. So you have to kind of start shuffling and tweaking. And then, after you kind of shuffle and tweak, you do one more final read. So you're reading it 4 times before the show, which it's fine. Like I'm reading 40K content, so it's fine. But yeah, it takes a minute. Scheduling we'll talk about next. So you have a perfectly formatted episode ready to go. Scheduling, the nightmare, the bane of everyone who's ever done anything in their life. It's tough, man. To get 4 people in a room like I used to for Lorehammer, and now just to get 3, sometimes 4, still tough. But yeah, it's rough. There's some ways around it though, and get reliable friends. I found is a good technique. Gerald's been good for that.
And that's why Mark declared me as the Rogel Dorn of the Lorehammer heresy.
Exactly. But yeah, choosing guests, like I will usually have like permanent guests where I'm like, okay, what can I count on you to do? Okay, you can only do bi-weekly. Perfect. I'm going to fill you in, and then just try to get as many people kind of signed on as possible where, you could quit at any time, but just let me know. Give me an hour notice. That's fine. But just as long as you commit, you're committed, then it's off my chest. And everyone's been very good at that. Yeah, I also have 10 posts that like there's tons of people, that recently come to the mind that kind of just, somebody canceled 30 minutes out. Let's just see who's available and let's see who picks this up. Or if I know somebody really likes the topic or whatever. But I feel like my schedule has been so fast paced the last year. I'm going to slow it down a touch in a different way. And then it'll allow me to get better access to hosts, essentially give people a little bit more time, give me a little bit more time to do some writing too. But definitely like here, I know these people really like this. Just gives everyone a little more time. So slow the schedule down just a touch. And then, yeah. We record a lot. Like we record Tuesday, Wednesdays, and Friday. And I feel like we've been doing this for like 6 months now, essentially. And we've been doing Lorehammer for a year, and we've done 100 plus bonus episodes and all that kind of stuff. And it's been fun, but I want to up the quality and down the quantity a touch, and also up the creativity and down the production a touch.
I didn't actually start listening to Lorehammer until like near the very end. You all were only like your last like 10, 15 episodes by the time I started listening and caught up. Like I was fully caught up when you had released episode 100 and then you declared everything was over. I'm just like, oh dang. But yeah, but didn't like that take like 5 years to do, or
yeah, like it took us basically 5 years to do 100 episodes because we were doing bi-weekly because it was basically scheduling to do an episode. You had to schedule 2 episodes 2 times. You had to do an episode edit. An episode writing and then the actual episode. So Eric could commit to me, 1 day a week, which basically meant that 2-week rotation. Where now that I don't have somebody a part of that side of it, where I can do, 95% of that by myself, I can write a lot quicker and produce because it's easy enough to find hosts if you give people 1 week. Or like I said, I have this rotation of you have Wednesdays, Court has Tuesdays, Christian and Jordan have Fridays. So then I just fill in a couple guests here and there. Logan's been great too. There's a bunch of people. So, it makes it easier that way. But yeah, I think that's kind of the goal. Dial it back a touch and just kind of up the quality, up the creativity. And yeah.
So you're thinking like at some point maybe not doing 3 episodes per week, but or doing like a separate or a different release schedule than what you're currently doing?
Yeah, I feel like I want to do 2 episodes a week, and then if the natural scheduling of it all allows for a bonus episode, and by that I mean like in between Primarch episodes and whatever the next series is, you toss a bonus episode in. So maybe those odd weeks I do 3 episodes, but I think dumb it down to 2, and that's just going to give me so much more time. Like I spend so much time sitting and writing in front of a computer, and it's fine. I love it. I really don't want to complain at all. Like, but it's a lot. It's just there's a limit to what a man can do, and you don't want to burn out. So before I burn out, I'm just going to slow it down just a touch. So
yeah. And you have the luxury of like this is pretty much your thing. So
Yeah, for the
and when
moment.
you're in yeah, and you're putting all this work into it. And then like I know Christian has a job, Jordan has a job, I have a job, and then you know, my co-host has a job, he has a family to take care of
Yeah.
and stuff. So it's real that's where the scheduling is probably the absolute hardest thing to try and do.
Oh, it's always been the worst. Thankfully, I've
Mm-hmm.
always had such a huge roster of people, um, that's been really good. But yeah, the scheduling, what a nightmare, man.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And that's why Grimlore is in kind of like the same boat. Like where before our hiatus, we were about, you know, every other week because just for just for scheduling purposes. Again, my job, Ray's family, my family, all that is
Yeah.
just it's a lot. It's a lot.
Yeah. Uh, Alpha asks, listener lore has also been put on the back burner. Any chance of getting that back up to speed? Yeah, exactly. Like, and that's the thing with 3 episodes a week. You know, if I'm writing for 8 hours an episode, that's 24 hours of writing a week of sitting at a computer where like I set my timer, like I have my time, and I sit and I type. Man, it's a lot of hours. So yeah, if I dumb it down, then yes, that opens up listener lore, which I'm super excited for. And you know, just a couple other things. Like I said, I want to do more Dad Hammer, but just doing that many, it really just it has no time for me to do anything else. So thanks. The Menfee says your audio quality is some of the better ones out there. Yeah, it's
Well, thank
funny.
you.
Yeah, I yeah, a guy could get self-conscious. Growing up, man, I had a huge stutter. Like I couldn't say R's. I could barely say my name. I was super shy. I never talked to nobody. It's always so weird that people like listen to me talk. It's fucking crazy, but glad you're here.
I
Guest
hate this.
host.
I hate the natural sound of my voice. So that was why, like, when you had me on for like I can't remember which one. I was like, I'm tired of hearing myself talk. I'm going to do an accent and just do something different. So that was what started that whole thing.
Yeah. Guest host 1/3 of the time, but I guess that's a lot of trust in the core team. I trust them. Like I went on vacation and there are times where I've canceled or, you know, the battery bust. There's a couple times people took over. That's fine. It's more like, I've always thought of it this way. You know, in season 7 of a TV show, when the main characters aren't even there anymore, and you're like, okay, what are we up to? I never want Lorehammer to be that. Where I think up to this point, I've only missed like 4, maybe 5 episodes of the show, and you know, it's a last resort for me. It's one of my priorities, not only like as like a work goal, but like as a personal goal. Like this show wouldn't happen if I didn't have drive to do it. Every episode is me driving a bunch of people to do this, so I fucking love it. Once again, I love it. But I also got to paint all the Liber Malleus. Yeah, exactly. There's only so much time in a great day. But let's move on. So you have all that. You got your schedule. You're hoping to God people show up, and you do, and you hit record, and it's fucking awesome. Gerald, do you remember the first time you podcasted, and then right when you hit end, you're like, "So when are we recording next?"
That, believe it or not, that actually happened when we recorded our very first episode.
Yeah.
Because we were gonna do when we got started, we figured, okay, we're going to record the first 2 episodes, release them both at once, give people something to listen to before we get ready for the next one. So,
Yeah, man.
and then like we finished recording that very first episode, and then we're just like, damn, that was a lot of fun. Okay, when are we doing the next one? And it was like that almost every single time too. It's like, dang, that was a lot of fun to do. And then, yeah,
Yeah,
so
man, it's like addicting. Like, it's interesting podcasting because we are putting on a show. In real life, I'm not nearly as energetic or like flamboyant or intentionally saying things to try to get a rise out of people. Um, so you are putting on a show, but in that, like, you almost like trick your body into having more fun. So it becomes more fun the more you almost put into it. And at the end, yeah, you almost do leave with this like this high, this community high. So it's really fun. It's enjoyable.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Live streaming has been a whole new situation. Um, we used to just hit record, but now we live stream, and that opens up a whole new aspect where it's a whole nother program that I got to use. Then you got to make streams and send it out to everyone. You got to make episode art and all this kind of stuff. I use Canva sometimes. It's a whole big process. I make streams. I link the streams to Patreon. I link that stream to YouTube. I link that stream to the Imperial Ties channel. Then I link that stream to guest hosts, and I link them show notes and other notes, and it links on links to get a show going. I've sent 50 links out. I I used to have a checklist of like, okay, here's how I do all this. But now it's so second nature, 100 episodes deep where I've been doing it, where it's fine. But yeah, like you get in quite the flow of just kind of going through all these different steps of now making Canva art, selecting something, boom, 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 doing everything, making sure everything has like some type of rhyme and reason or visual flow to it. I don't try to like stick with any trends or anything, but like, yeah, there's some definitely like, yeah, you want to kind of hit the right art style or just kind of, trick the mind. Oh, people like 3 images at a time. Try to put that in there. Just little things, whatever.
Yeah, episode art's kind of where Grimlore is struggling right now because, full disclosure, I suck. I can draw on pencil and paper, no problem. I cannot do that for digital art though. So I'm less than useless when trying to do digital art for Grimlore's Instagram page. So full disclosure, yeah. I do use one of the AI art generator things. I try to be as specific as possible with the prompts to try and get as close to what, is depicting what we're talking about in fantasy or in Warhammer fantasy. And then I used to do Hero Forge. They were a sponsor. Whenever I'm doing like art for like myself, Ray, and our guests, I would create our models through Hero Forge. But we stopped doing that because we were worried about the legal implications of technically using someone else's miniatures. So then I would just take that picture, put it through I think it's Night Cafe is what I use. They're okay-ish, and then I'd use that for the episode art. But I don't like doing that because that leads to that problem, that discussion that a lot of people are talking about of using AI art instead of an artist. I want really bad to have or hire an artist to do like our character sketches and everything for the show. But that's so if anybody is listening to this and wants to do fan art for Grimlore, come reach out, please.
Yeah. Like that. Do you ever just use like what GW has drawn up for art?
We thought about that, but
in my mind, there's no difference. Sorry.
There isn't as much available as there is for 40K. And we'll use it in like our slides or whatnot when we start doing the live streaming stuff, but it's hard to kind of get it's hard to kind of, because like we're trying to picture a scene with like us, the hosts, and our guests in that scene, and it's kind of hard to do that with what's available. So
sure. Yeah, I just am kind of like with this whole AI thing in this particular scenario, I'm like, well, I didn't create the original artwork. I didn't create the original writing, and like I didn't create that AI art that was used either. Like, I don't know. It just is kind of like, yeah, I don't know. People that are worried about losing art to fucking AI, I think, well, either you don't know what real art is because it comes from your soul, man. It's like something genuine, and it doesn't have to have a purpose beyond you just wanting it to exist. So for people, I like that's not the problem of AI. Yeah, and it's definitely annoying if you put too much AI into stuff for sure. You don't want that.
Yeah.
But what do you do, man? None of it's
What do
fucking
you do?
real. All right. So then I've linked all the stuff. We go to hit record. Even recording, there's a pre-show that I do. Typically, it only takes a couple minutes depending on who I'm with. But go over the notes, make sure everyone's kind of warmed up, say hellos. And then the show. Lately, I've been trying to aim for anywhere between an hour and 45 minutes and 2.5 hours. Sometimes you can tell that I've stretched an episode with call-ins, or other times you can tell that I condensed an episode. Where back in the day, like the first 100, we wrote a script and we got to it and we went through the whole fucking thing regardless. I think there's only one time where we actually split a script in two, and that was the Eldar Aspect episode. We broke that into 2 parts just because, we went through it and it was so much. But like, that was something where I'm like, okay, I think that's the goal. Have a show length that makes sense. Try to time when people can show up and expect to know when it's going. And I with call-ins, I think it's fine to do a confirmed show length where, if I had 30 minutes of call-ins at the end of the show, great. Like, listen if you want, don't listen. I didn't like other podcasts when they did like 30 minutes of like hobby stuff at the beginning, or just 30 minutes of I had to kind of wait to get to this stuff. So put it at the end, whatever. And then at the end, there's a post show. We go over it. Hey, how'd that episode go? You guys like it? How'd you feel? Anything we need to change? Blah, blah, blah. Usually nothing too serious that happens. But you get the odd thing every now and again. But then I do the post show and I go inside to my house and I go talk to my wife and I go, oh man, that guy was awful. I can never have him back on again. And she's like, who was it? I'm like, you know who it was. Yeah. She sometimes pokes ahead of the stream and she does, I don't think she knows what we're saying.
And yet he keeps coming back. In fact, he might be in this video right now.
He's behind me, isn't he? Oh my god. Yeah. But that's always fun doing the post show and just like talking absolute shit with her, like what the hell, or like just catching up with like, oh man, one time this joke was made. Court, I guess, collects teeth. I don't fucking know. Gerald likes piss. I don't know. I don't know, man. I don't work here. I just along for the ride. Oh man. All right, we'll keep going through these notes here. Editing, man, that's a big old pain in the dick. We've had many editors over the years, but when I edit, this is how I do it. I download the files off of StreamYard, then I put them into Audacity, and I download individual hosts. Boom, 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 multiple tracks. You put in your audio, you put in music, you put in call-ins, you smash it all together, you listen. You edit out any times I said anything too heinous, which has only happened one time ever. What did I say? Was it the N-word? Is that where your mind went, Gerald? Because it was not. Bad.
The world may never
now
know.
I have to edit this out. Great. The world would never know. Honestly, we don't do that much editing. Even when I did a call out for editors and stuff, and Lupercall, who's doing editing now, we try not to edit out anything really beyond awkward silences where it's like, okay, did the guy die on me? Why aren't you talking back? Like, what happened there? Anytime it gets too loud, we might cut some guests out. Like if it gets like, okay, we can't even hear what people are saying. Like, let's cut a channel or two just so we can hear. But we try to keep everything in. The one time I praised Primaris Marines, we definitely take that out for sure. And I've even been told that every time I say I like Primaris Marines, people edit out the word like. So it's like, oh, but that doesn't work. Never mind. Primaris Marines doesn't work. Idiot. Idiot, Mark. But yeah, we don't do too much editing, but it does take a lot of time still to do all that. And then you save it all. You save an audio, you save a video.
I gotta. If you'll permit me to share my screen again, I have a. This is what Audacity looks like for anyone that doesn't know, and this is like very zoomed out, just so you can see how everything looks.
Yeah, sound waves, man.
So,
hell yeah.
Yep. So it's like intro music right here. This is like the main body. So I have that like really opened up so I can pick out like any silences or anything that's like off. And then here's like background music. This is for a Patreon only episode, so there's really not too much. But
Yeah.
when and then of course like the outro music. But then like for a mainline episode of Grim Lore, I'll add stuff like sound effects to kind of accentuate some of the jokes. I might add in like little clips of music relevant to whatever we're talking about, or if, again, to kind of accentuate the joke.
Yeah.
And that takes a lot of time to do.
Yeah. I can't imagine, man. Like, for me, I'd say probably, call it an hour process from start to finish by the time you download and re-upload and edit, like easily that per episode if you're doing like a decent job of it. But doing sound effects, man, that's probably another 2-3 hours easily.
I had spoken to Only One Bob and Jono from the Hobby Happy Hour, another good podcast y'all should go listen to. They speak more from the hobby side of things, but they'll go over a little bit of lore. But and he and Bob had told me for every 1 hour of like recording time, you're probably looking at least 2 hours of editing.
Yeah, that's
so a 2 hour episode. If you were diligent,
yeah,
as possible, you're looking at probably 4 hours worth of editing.
Yeah.
And he's not wrong. He's not wrong.
No, exactly. There's some numbers like, okay, so if we're talking 8 hours of writing and then you're talking 2 hours of recording plus some pre-show, so let's do some 3 hours. So now we're up to 11 hours. Now you got to edit those 2.5 hours. So that's another 5 hours. So up to 16 hours just to do an episode. And that's not on top of, scheduling people, all the other bullshit that has to happen. So all of a sudden, it's quite a lot of work to go into one episode. Thankfully,
it's not hard. It's just very tedious, especially when you're one person doing all of it.
Yeah, and thankfully, I can say I get paid now. But like, I didn't always get paid. I did Lorehammer for many years without getting a paycheck. So still has to get done. So
yep.
Yeah, so then we go into the release of an episode. You have a podcast RSS feed, super important. You don't ever want to fuck with that, but basically you have that then gets uploaded to a host website that will upload it to everyone else. Like I'm currently using Megaphone as my host. I think Spotify uses them as their primary users right now. Maybe Anchor is their primary, but it doesn't matter. Megaphone, I've used Red Circle, I've used Anchor before. They're all pretty much the same unless you're like moving really big numbers and stuff. But even at my level, they're all pretty well going to treat you the same. They're all pretty well going to be offer the same stuff. It's all whatever. But basically, yeah, so you upload to them. They will then shoot it off to Podbean, off to iTunes, off to Spotify, off to all those different platforms. But then I still got to link it to my Patreon and link it to the YouTube, which requires, converting audio to video. So there's another little step. But it's all just nonsense, man. It's all just to get an episode out. It takes another couple minutes for sure. And
I think Grimlore uses Red Circle. We use Red Circle to release our episodes, and like once we do that, it goes out to like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, I don't know whatever the other ones are.
Yeah, I liked Red Circle. I used it for many years. I like them. I feel like I made the most money with them, but that's hard thing to say, hard thing to quantify fully in this business. Anyways, up next we got social media posts. I don't do much of them. I used to have a huge hand in them, but now I have kind of people that enjoy doing it. So my wife actually manages all our social media posts, and usually there's 5 posts a week from lore posts, episode releases, or just like podcast updates or stuff of random nature like that. But she tries to do 5 a week. So the first step for her is getting creators. These are people that are actually going to be creating lore posts. She'll make episode release posts, episode updates and stuff, but she won't be writing the lore. She doesn't know what the fuck any of it is. So we've had many creators over the years. The number one contributor was Colin, and he took our social media to the next level. He kind of just created the initial, like, this is how you do it. This is why you do it. This is how social media works. And as a guy, like right now, the only social media I do is like nothing really. Because even Lorehammer, I don't really do Lorehammer. I've never done social media, so he kind of really took it off the ground and showed me kind of how to manage it and do it all and all that. And then, Eric has written many posts over the year. I've written many. Christian's written many. But I feel like Gerald for the last year, I'm sorry, not Gerald, Ursat's for the last year has been doing these posts. So my wife will message him and be like, what do you got for me? And then he'll fire off a bunch of posts and stuff. Pretty easy, pretty cool. The posts are pretty simple. They can be whatever. They can be goofy sometimes. They can be more serious lore posts. I always wonder, what does that even accomplish? Honestly, I don't know. It's hard to say. Numbers are weird. You can look at numbers and be like, how do I have this many people on Instagram, but this many people listen to the show, or like just whatever. You get caught up in numbers, and I don't fucking like it. Yeah, she has downloading and uploading files, all types of things. She does formatting of all. Somebody will send you posts and you got to format it differently for every fucking social media place. And the posts are pretty cool. We post on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, Twitter. I guess we got shorts, YouTube shorts now on TikTok and YouTube. So little 1-minute clips of the show. So that's pretty cool.
Awesome. Yep, Grimlore is not nowhere near as prolific. We of course we have our. Yeah, it does. And when it's just Ray and I, it's kind of hard to do all that. But we have an Instagram page, and then recently, because actually we've been inspired by you for doing StreamYard, we'll stream directly to our YouTube channel. I have Toasty editing some of our older, or some of our original episodes to try and upload while we live stream everything else, and then that's kind of all we do so far right now. So
yeah, it's a slow build, and then it's a lot of these are just like making a system that works and then kind of just hammering out the kinks, and once you kind of got it hammered out, it all operates pretty smoothly. But every time you implement one of these new systems, it's like, fuck, it's going to take a minute to get this to operate smoothly, and then it works out. But yeah, it's a time thing for sure. Then I do some maintenance. There's always maintenance on the podcast. Like today, Gerald, you said, oh shit, Mark, you're missing an audio file for an episode. And I said, oh, you're right. And there's always something like that here or there, or you find a spelling mistake. There's always maintenance. There's work emails. There's project relations. And by that, I mean, like, man, I want to text people I'm in contact with often, essentially. You got to keep bridges good if you want people. So, make sure you're reaching out to people as best you can. Takes time, but it's always worth it. Maintenance, man, it's just one of those things, just like your body. Anything needs to be constantly maintained. Even if you have a good system in place, you still got to always make sure that it's still working, and check in and just make sure everything's working. Then I do listener interaction. I found that has been a huge driving factor for Lorehammer. One of my favorite parts about our show is we've always been like, I've always just wanted to talk to people. So I've always been very accessible, and the amount of time that people are like, holy shit, I can't believe you responded. I'm like, what else would I be doing? Like, I gave you my email because I want to talk to you. But there's a lot of different ways. Like on Discord, it's my primary way. If you want to get a hold of me nowadays, Discord's my primary way. Email is a little less likely that I will personally get to you. I will definitely see it, but I probably won't respond there. Listen to the email usually gets like listener lores, or just less kind of questions, or less immediate actions, and more kind of like, oh, somebody sent me like a 50-page narrative of their thoughts on my episode, just stuff like that.
And the first entire page is fuck Christian, fuck Christian, fuck Christian, fuck Christian, fuck Christian.
Scroll. Yeah. The Patreon is a decent way to get a hold of me, but no one ever uses Patreon, I find, at least not in my case. I don't offer anything. Like, I've never wanted to charge people for Lorehammer. Like, I'm like, I am fucking religious about this. I don't think you should charge people for religion, and I don't think you should charge people for information that you're interested in. Like, if I was truly passionate about Lorehammer and 40K, I wouldn't be like, hey, I want to tell you about this, but only if you pay me. Like, to me, it's just like, what That's not how it works. It's like if you have something, like you said, Gerald, build it, they will come. You know, if you're doing something worthwhile, people will give you bucks. And thankfully, we've had a very, very good time with Patreon. You know, we don't have the biggest. I look at Adeptus Ridiculous, man, and I'm like, they're making 30K a month or some shit. Jesus, goddamn Murphy. I'm nowhere near those numbers. And you know, I've thrown the idea around to myself in the dark of night of being like, should I charge Primarch episodes behind Patreon walls? And then I instantly kick myself in the dick and be like, that's the dirtiest, grossest thing. Like I'd never want to be that. So you know, join the Patreon for free. You're not going to get anything for it except for the fact that you know that you're supporting a show that you enjoy. So definitely go support if you're not.
Yeah, and I think that too is just like when you have folks that join the Patreon, those are the people that actually want to legitimately support you, even though there's not really like a tangible reward for doing so. And Riddler kind of went a different route, but I mean, it's like I understand where you're getting at, and we believe the same thing too. Like our mainline episodes, our main lore stuff, that should not be behind a $50 paywall or whatever.
Yeah.
And so,
but like a bonus episode, that to me is fine. Like if I would have put Dad Hammer behind a paywall, no big deal. You know, that's like extra. That's fine.
Yeah, and that's exactly what we do. So it's like we have our Patreon page, and so for anyone that wants to support us, it's like, oh hey, you get access to Patreon only episodes, and this is like just for fun stuff, like nowhere related to Warhammer Fantasy or anything. Or you might get like if we had a bunch of bloopers of during recording, I'll cut a lot of that out and then just put it in like a blooper episode.
Sure, yeah. That could be fun.
Silly stuff like that. And I think the other big thing too is like I was saying about the $50 paywall, we try to set our tiers like relatively low compared to a lot of other creators, because like it's just like you said, we don't need to try and like nickel and dime everyone to death to learn about Warhammer 40K or Warhammer Fantasy. Is just like that's not what we're about.
Yeah, it's funny, you know, people have accused me of gatekeeping, and I'm like, I've gotten probably one of the most people in 40K. Like, I'm not gatekeeping. Everyone can come. Like, I'm not paywalling shit either. Like, I'll open up my home. Just come talk to me about Warhammer, please. Yeah. Yeah, Patreon's one of those things. You know, when you're getting money involved, it gets a little fucking annoying. It depends on scale too with Patreon. Like when we first started, we used to like send out T-shirts to people, and then all of a sudden you have 100 people on your Patreon. You're like, that becomes its own business in and of itself. Like that becomes, now we need a Patreon guy, and then there goes all the profit. Like, so we kind of learned that lesson early on, where it's like, okay, let's not overcommit to like benefits, especially physical benefits. That will overwhelm quick if you get lucky.
We learned that lesson the hard way.
Yeah, but all of a sudden you're like, now I have to fulfill a bunch of. Now I have to paint the Liber Malleus. What have I done?
But at least you'll have fun doing that.
Yeah, no, exactly. Osman is willing to make a Lorehammer website for free. We actually have one, but honestly, there's no point to it. Like, we don't sell merchandise. There's no need for people to click there. Is essentially, we do have one though, but there's just no point. Essentially, we found. And the people are like, well, you can find your podcast. And I'm like, well, chances are if you found my podcast, you already found my podcast. Like no one's ever found my podcast on the Lorehammer website. Like that's just not how the flow works. Yeah, maybe the website link is dead nowadays, but it does exist and we could activate it at any moment. But yeah, like I said, there's just no need. And we've talked about, well, maybe we toss up articles on there, and then it's like, well, man, who's really gonna fucking click and link it? Like, how much effort do you really want to put into that for? Like, there's become a thing like where for me it's like, okay, time to get monetary gain. If I am making money, I got to make sure I'm using my time effectively to make money, and that just is not one of them. Doesn't grow the business, doesn't make me money. So
Yeah, or you don't want to go through all this effort for it to not come to fruition. It's just like
Yeah,
that's a lot of wasted effort.
and the other thing is it's money too. To run a website, it's money out each month. Where it's just like, okay, so now I got to cover a cost. Where right now the only cost is friendship, I suppose, which I think is too steep, but you guys seem to be okay with it. Um, well, let's get into a little bit more. We're almost done the notes here. Maybe we'll cruise through the last little bit. But the business side of thing, fuck, man, I hate the business side of thing. I hate it with a passion, a fiery passion. The shows had different phases for sure. Where in the beginning it was me, Eric, and Jordan, and we were business partners, and we're like, yeah, man, let's split our Patreon bucks 3 ways. Here's your 20 cents, Jordino. Eventually, Jordan left on vacation, or not on vacation, on work. So he left for like 6 months or whatever, which that was a long time. So then it was me and Eric, and we're like, oh, sweet. Now we're splitting 40 cents. And about year 5 is when me and Eric we finally got offered like a Spotify contract, and like, okay, we're making, a decent amount on Patreon. We're making some money through Spotify now. Like, let's incorporate. It becomes an actual business. And, I could quit my official job. So we eventually got to that point, but, it didn't last long. Like, we only did Lorehammer for like a year or a year and a half after that, and then I moved. So there was though a point though where like Lorehammer was a legit business with some decent money coming in and all that kind of stuff. And then I ended the show, and there's some Patreon dollars and still some stuff, whatever. And then I brought it back, and I didn't trust Jordan. No, just kidding. I didn't trust Christian. No, just kidding. Basically, it was just kind of me at this point, doing the business side of thing. I won't tell too many business side of things. Like, at some points there were buyouts, and at other points there were, we had to fire Christian for sexually harassing everyone. There's been some situations that we won't get too much into. But now it's just me and my wife. I do most of the business stuff, but my wife definitely helps a lot. Like, she'll fire off any business email. I'm like, yo, my dude, you want to do business? You want to exchange favors? My wife's like, you can't be writing that to business people. Like, that's not how you keep a job. I'm like, okay, you can write me stuff. But man, contract negotiation's always so shitty. It's always so gross. I don't like doing the business side of things. I don't mind doing the business side of things when it comes to electricianing. I run a very nice business when it comes to electricianing and also Airbnb. I don't mind it at all. But with podcasting, it's just different because it's an ethereal business, man. Like, money could dry up in 1 second. All of a sudden, no one watches the show, and all of a sudden, you're entitled to do things. Like, it just becomes messy quick, I find. I've been very lucky with Lorehammer that I haven't found myself in too much weird contract stuff. Even with Spotify, I lucked out. Like, they offered us money, and then they finally agreed to the right amount of money, but then they want to own the show that we produced with them for a couple years. And we're like, oh man, it's a lot of money. It's enough. Okay, that's X amount in episodes. We waited out, me and Eric, and we agreed, okay, you guys can own these episodes. Thankfully, they canceled the contract like a year and a half into a 2-year contract. And when they canceled it, we got all our episodes back, which was only like 10 or 15 episodes or whatever. But it was still cool. So sometimes it works out. Other times it doesn't. I just hate doing business like with people where I'm like, I am just an electrician. Like, you're throwing a fucking 50-page legal contract at me, and now I'm trying to poke holes in it. Like, this seems funky. Can you please describe this to me a little better? And then they throw some more legal mumbo jumbo at me. I'm like, I guess I'll just have to take your word for it that you're gonna try to not fuck me. And typically they don't, but sometimes they do. I just hate the business side of things, man. It's just greasy.
Did that company ever give you a reason for why they canceled their contract, or did it just kind of happen?
With Spotify, so when I worked for Spotify, we got signed on to like I forget what it was called. It was like the Spotify creator program, where basically they took 20 or 30 up and coming podcasts, and they wanted to develop it. So we got a year and a half into the program, and then the guy who was kind of leading it, I don't know if he quit or or whatever. But basically, he went away from Spotify, so our Spotify handler went away, and then they like for 6 months we don't want to hire a new person. By the time we find somebody, cover him in, so they just ended the program for the last 6 months. So,
Okay.
yeah, so somebody was done with their job, and then it kind of just dominoes down. But it was nice. Like they bought me out, and I would work for Spotify again in a heartbeat. They treated me nicely. They never got in my grill. Yeah, they held up their side of the contracts and stuff and helped me out. So yeah, no, they were nice.
Was there any kind of caveats or any kind of catch-22s when you were working with them?
No, like it all went smoothly. And like I said, they quit and then they actually had to buy us out essentially. And there's some nice stuff there that I was not expecting when they kind of canceled it. So no, they treated me nice. I've had other ones that have not been the case, but you know, that's just dirty laundry. So we'll leave that to the side. You know, but you have to work with people because ultimately the way it works is you want ad spots and you need ad reads. So you have to work with another company. I have found some of my own ad spots and I've done some stuff like that, but you know, it's better if you just go through the channels where they have all the stuff already set up for you and they just can help you out. You know, their whole business is dedicated to doing that. So you just utilize that. And then the final thing about the business is bills. You know, there are bills to doing the show. Not many. You know, there's StreamYard has a bill. There's a couple that happen. I consider my my Starlink a bill, but there's not many. I do pay some hosts and stuff. It's not much and it fluctuates, you know, but you know, I try to spread the wealth when I can and you know, just make sure everyone's happy. And it's one of those things I wish I could always get more, obviously, but you know, you do what you can. And the fact that I've made a single fucking dollar and continue to after years and years is fucking crazy, man. I'm super grateful. Lorehammer suggested moving to a non-extraditionary country. Yeah, Lorehammer Legal definitely said, you sick of all these contracts? If you flee, you can break any contract you want. Yeah, that's so funny. Lawyers always trying to fuck you. Yeah, no, honestly, somebody sends me a contract. I'm just like, so this is 45 pages of you trying to fuck me. That's what you just sent me? And now you want me to look you in the eye and sign this as you're like, I'm not trying to fuck you. And I'm like, it says on page 39, I can fuck Mark. And like, no, that rarely happens. It's crazy. I hate it. I hate it with a passion, man. Like I've done work where electricianing is a different world. You fuck around and you don't keep your job. You start getting a reputation where if you don't keep your end of the job, you don't get more work. But it seems like every other business field I've been in, they can just fuck you and get away with it. Anyways.
Yep.
Join the Patreon so I don't have to do ad spots.
Kind of sort of related. Alpha Primus makes a pretty good comment. That part about super chats is YouTube takes a major chunk of it, so you're better off using StreamYard anyways.
Yeah, and like I don't mind giving money to where money's due. Same with these ad spots. Like if you're gonna go find me money, take the money. If you're gonna facilitate me getting super chats, take a little bit of it. It's when they start taking super chat money, and I'm like, well, my super chats aren't showing up anymore. Like, you know, that's when I have an issue. Where it's like, okay, what we agreed to is no longer working. Anyways, let's move on. I'll do a little rundown of income real quick. I'm not going to tell monies, but people do wonder how you kind of monetize a podcast. This is how I've done it, and it's changed. We'll go over it real quick. There's host read ads. You've heard them before. There's just random ads. You put them in, you make a couple bucks or whatever. There's also, that's host read is me reading an ad. That's where I tell you to go buy something. I haven't really been ever offered anything to do any ad read for anything I don't agree with. And honestly, I don't even know if there is anything like that. Like it would have to be pretty abhorrent. Like, do you want to go abort your baby? Go to this. Like, there's lines, but like I don't think they advertise for the lines that I would like have an issue with, you know. So host read ads, I'll pretty much take whatever, and the algorithm is going to assign me the best ads that they think. They're not trying to waste their money and give me goofy ads that aren't going to sell. They're going to try to advertise what is best. So, you know, you can pretty much trust that they're going to be fine on that end. And then you got programmatic ads, same thing, and they just can kind of run in the background and collect you some coin. And then you get donations. Patreon's been huge for us, but I do make more money doing ads. If I made more money doing Patreon, I'd switch my business model and stop running ads. But it's hard to get those Patreon bucks. It really is, where the ads are just kind of automatic money, at least at my level. Then I can do merchandise. There's stock merchandise like T-shirts, but I don't sell that much of it. Like maybe a T-shirt a month, not much, man. And then there's some exclusive stuff like the Lorehammer the Liber Malleus stuff, which you can make some money doing some stuff. But I just find you're opening up a new business when you're trying to sell merch. It's like, no, I'm doing podcasting, not realtor or whatever. Retail is the word I'm looking for. The scale of this process does flip though. Like I'm at a specific scale where this works for me, where I make the most off host read ads and programmatic, then donations on Patreon and one time and all that. But I remember starting out where Patreon was what I was trying to do. That's where I was getting my most money. But then as I grew, you start getting ads and you start switching what you want to do, where it's like I used to do more for the Patreon members, but then I had to switch that because it just wasn't getting that same value. And ultimately, like what it is about, GW has said this too, where it's like Lorehammer is about making money because then I can continue making Lorehammer. So it's kind of that necessary evil.
Yeah, it's kind of like that cycle of you want to produce good 40K material for the listeners, but to do that, you also need to earn a little bit to be able to put back into it to keep the machine going, just like the Imperium.
Yeah, and like, man, like I didn't collect paychecks for many, many, many years, man. Like I did Lorehammer for like, I forget, like 4 or 5 years without collecting a paycheck. And maybe I got a Christmas bonus where we splurged and bought like a split on a 2-way box, me and Eric. But like, it's a lot of work and a lot of hours. And yeah, I'm lucky that I fucking made it anywhere. And I never really thought I would. But very cool. Okay, the last little bit. Money's crazy. You can make money doing this. I'm very lucky. But we'll go to challenges of doing this show. We mentioned scheduling, always a pain in the dick. But I think I got that down to a science now. We're getting pretty good with the scheduling around here. Sound editing, people have heard me talk about it. Always a pain in the dick. Even in this episode, we talked about how annoying that is. Businessing, I fucking hate businessing. I just feel like I do business with people that I can't look them in the eye, and I don't like it. Like, there's one thing when I'm doing electricianing, man, and you're telling somebody something and you're looking them in the eye and you shake their hand and you know you're going to see that person in person tomorrow. You treat them differently. So business thing sucks. I just don't like the way it's done through podcasting. It's just not a way to live, but it's whatever. Old challenges I used to have, negative messages. I used to kind of let them get to me. Not really, like ultimately who fucking cares, but also there are valid critiques where, if someone says something really like, oh, Mark, you're supporting the patriarchy, like that's not keeping me up. But sometimes there is valid critiques where you're like, okay, well maybe I do need to adjust this, or like, what about this? And then you do have a sleepless night. And there's always that challenge of like, okay, I have an audience of X amount of people and this is just one person's feedback too. Is this the call that I make? Or, okay, I have an audience of that many people and this is only 10 people. That still is a fraction. What do you do? That can kind of weigh on you, but whatever.
The saying I heard, and this is more, well, this is from a writer perspective, but I mean, I'm pretty sure the same is true too. Is like, if one person is saying one thing, you can kind of take it or leave it. If two people are saying the same thing, that's still only 2 people. But then it's like when it's like 3, 4, or 5 people are saying the same thing when they're looking over your work, you might want to give that a listen.
Yeah. So. Yeah, no, exactly. At that point, it becomes like, that's a situation. Yeah, so it's one of those weird things where it's like you want to read the messages and you want to know the shitty stuff too, but also like you don't, like you can't. It's podcasting's so weird, man. Like you're making a show for people that you never see, and like, yeah, you don't get quite good feedback for. I
Mm-hmm.
don't know. Whatever.
Like like they always say, grow thick skin or whatnot, but like a person can only take so much crap. Like,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. And what's a weird thing too, I live out on the island nowadays, and like I don't have a lot of social interaction. Like, and even I live in a Spanish speaking country, and I got some Spanish in my back pocket, but like I ain't really talking to people even when I go to town. I'm just buying groceries. Um they say you're the sum of the 5 people you surround yourself with. So I got my wife, I got my baby. Let's toss, Gerald in there. Let's toss Christian in there. I don't see a lot of people as my point. So if like that fifth person is considered the internet in my life and it's just these negative messages, man, like I just don't get enough input messages that those negative messages now really have a different hit. Where back in the day when I was around a whole bunch of people, it was a little different input, if that kind of makes sense.
yeah,
But whatever.
totally.
Another small little annoyance is little helpers. Sometimes helpers are nice, but people who just have opinions and then like, you should do this. I have no experience in the field, and this is actually going to break your system, but you should do this. And it's just like, yeah, you got it. Thanks. Jax, you are not a little helper, just in case you feel hey, people come to me all the time with like ideas of like, we should do this for the Discord. And I love ideas. I love hearing ideas. It's there's a difference where it's like, I don't even have a good example off the top of my head, but there's like an almost like this, like, you know it when you see it, I guess is the way to say it. So kind of an annoyance. But let's finish off this episode with the joys, because man, what a fucking joy this has been for me. I love it, man. It triggers my creativity every time I write a new episode. Like I'm writing stuff, like I'm triggering that creative bug inside me. I'm manifesting a little bit of reality to some degree. And even though I'm writing about stuff that like it's not mine, and I'm not really writing, it's still like still doing something. It's still running that imagination for sure. And I'm sure people have noticed, like they've definitely noticed my reading levels go up. They've probably noticed my verbal speaking levels go up, but even just creativity as well, or like how to like break down ideas a little bit more. You probably noticed that go up too. I love talking 40K. I'll talk to 40K with anyone, man. Literally meth heads I meet off Kijiji, random people online, don't matter to me. I love talking about 40K with random people or friends. It's what it's all about, man. For me, anyhow. It sounds kind of gay as shit to say something like that. It's what life's about for me. It's like, aren't you married with a child? And like, shut up, you nerd. But I love it, man. I fucking love it.
Nerd.
I'm the project lead of Lorehammer, which has been very cool. Even when Eric was around, I would still say I was the project lead. Like I always did the flow of the directions. I was always doing the scheduling, which means the personalities of who's coming on. Like, it's been fun, Eric went with me for a lot of things. There's a couple times where he's like, no, let's not do that. A great example of Eric stepping in actually was, I forget what it was for, but there's some like political movement. I'm like, man, I feel like I gotta say something. He's like, don't say anything. I'm like, I feel like I gotta, man. Like, why? How can I not? Like, this is happening. And it wasn't just like a throwaway thing. I'm like, I feel like we need to just do like a quick 10-minute episode. He's like, we shouldn't. And I took it as advice, because it's really good advice of like, it's one thing to do kind of like pepper an episode with some political content, but like this isn't a political show. So just leave it at the door, essentially.
That's kind of the very thin line of like, especially with Warhammer, because the whole thing originally, it was a satire of like the dystopian theocracy. Yeah. It's a satire of like how bad things can go under those systems, but there are people that kind of take that a little bit too literally, if that makes sense. And I think this had actually been brought up in another show that you were a guest on, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, that's neither here nor there. But yeah. it's really difficult when the setting itself is supposed to be a satire or has those themes
Yeah.
that
And like,
are very relevant to today.
yeah, and the other thing is like, yes, it was, and but the thing is like, it was written in the context of 30 years ago, most of it, or at least a lot of the core concepts. So that's the other thing, like where it was not written today, so it doesn't have the same implications, or the implications of things. Some things can be so different, just as time moves on. So different things become more or less acceptable, and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, like there's so many political conversations and philosophical conversations in it. You can go as deep as you want, but also, yeah, that I don't think is the primary goal of it. And even when it was so long ago back in time when it was the primary goal that everything was out of context anyway. So whatever.
Mm-hmm.
In the chat, people were asking truckers protests. Is that what got me all randy? That I had to say something? Nah, I'll never tell. I told Eric that's not a good idea. No, he told me, and I agreed with him.
Would you care to explain to, I guess, our non-Canadian chat members what Kijiji is?
Kijiji is like Craigslist, maybe. It's like a basically online garage sale for Canada. So you can go there and like, if you're looking to buy a car, you go there, or if you're looking to find really rare hiking boots, or if you're looking for a friend like I was, you can go there as well. Yeah.
Yeah, so it sounds like the Canadian like Craigslist or OfferUp or whatever, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah. So the project lead, it's been fun. It's also sometimes like, man, like I said, I have to make the call at the end of the day on everything, and that does have some consequence. Sometimes I like it, sometimes I don't. Depends what it is. I've had to have some difficult conversations that I never would have found myself in. And unfortunately, I've had to find myself in some difficult conversations with friends that I thought I'd never find myself in. Like, you start throwing money around, things get fucking crazy sometimes. And just to say, like, this did not happen to any of the main hosts or anything. Like, I'm not trying to throw, like, this is not why Eric's not here anymore. We didn't have a financial blow up or nothing. Like, nothing bad like that, but it always comes up sometimes. Whatever, fuck it. Other things I love about podcasting, new friends, obviously, going back to that, talking about people, but also a little bit of escapism. Like, we can go and we can just escape reality for a couple hours and just talk about whatever. But also, you escape into 40K, but then I also use 40K as a tool to learn about the world. You can hunt down weird philosophical ideas, or hunt down weird train of thoughts that would just be so inappropriate to say in real life. But you can then realize that's not the right way to go, which is whatever.
Mm-hmm. Yep. That's kind of why we enjoy a lot of what we enjoy. Like,
yeah,
I'm a big Star Wars fan. Star Wars has some thought to it, and
listen, when I
and
liked when he killed all the younglings, it's not because I want to go kill younglings. I just think that was an interesting character development. I want to see him kill more.
Because then you think, okay, I'm not going to go there anymore. But yeah, this is just like this whole thing that we call art, that we call life. This is how we process like all of this. Talking about big 8-foot tall beefcakes.
Yeah, exactly. And the final joy for me has been a paycheck. I can't believe, man, I made it out of being an electrician. I can't believe that. I remember like just doing my first week and being like, you're telling me I have to do this till I'm dead? Like, I have no education. Like, it is construction or nothing else. Like, well, yikes, man. So a paycheck, man, I'm eternally grateful. And like, now I have the opportunity, like, I have multiple other businesses that I run where, I'm not living off just Lorehammer money, but it helps, and I've been able to kind of build a couple businesses up where you combine it all together and it's a decent little living. I'm so grateful that I've made any money. Honestly, it blows me away. There is like a limit in my mind of what would have to happen to Lorehammer's income in order for me to stop. It would definitely have to be nowhere. It's nowhere close. Like, it would have to start costing me money. I just don't see it happening. I don't see it ending before financial reason. I can see running out of stuff to talk about or just needing another break, but I'm nowhere near any of that stuff. Right now, I'm just happy. And they say when the sun shine and make hay, and that's kind of what I'm up to with Lorehammer right now. People seem to really like the show, so I'm just going to go hard as long as I can and just try to make the best episodes I can. So, yeah. And that is a behind the scenes of what the fuck happens with Lorehammer. Like, there's so many different things, so many different little aspects, and to build each one up over the years, it's been really fun. Ursat says apparently killing younglings was a symbol of consumerism in the fast food industry. Okay. Genocide's bad. I get it now. Well, this episode's going long. Let's just fucking end it, I think. Go listen to Lorehammer, listen to Lore. One day I'm gonna do more. Like I said, I'm trying to make some more time for myself so I can do some other podcasts and projects. So go check out Lorehammer, listen to Lore.
And then when you're done listening to 40K, come check out Grim Lore, where we talk about Warhammer Fantasy and Age of Sigmar. We have like 45 episodes out or something like that. And
Fuck yeah.
And we're currently on hiatus, but bear with us. We're trying to figure some stuff out. So
everyone needs a break every now and again. No worries. Well, we'll see you all on the next episode. Sanguinius. Adios.